I was somewhere around the SS Anne on the edge of the ruins of Vermilion City when the game began to take hold. What started off as a cute spin-off of the world's biggest media franchise suddenly coalesced into something more than just a cozy life sim, creative outlet, or fun sandbox to zone out in. It slowly dawned on me that Pokémon Pokopia is a legitimate Game of the Year contender, and something that has taken over my life in the best possible way. After a brief prologue that introduces your playable Ditto in a world where humans have mysteriously vanished, you're tasked with rebuilding society. This involves creating little habitats out of specific patterns of items that attract specific Pokémon. A simple 2x2 grid of grass might bring you a Bulbasaur, while more intricate designs like a wheelbarrow, smelting furnace, and shovels will coax a Magmar out of hiding. Each Pokemon has their own unique and charming personalities, which lead to a ton of fun interactions once you start to grow the population of your biomes. I love the plight of specific critters like this adorable Pikachu named Pikachu, who suddenly lost her ability to generate electricity. You have to help her get her mojo back so she can then in turn help this Mosslax wake up from his long slumber. It's a perfect mix of silly and sweet with just enough heart to make me genuinely care about the outcome. And being a Ditto capable of transformation means that you occasionally learn moves and abilities from the pals you make. Lapras teaches you how to swim, Drillbur shows you how to uproot and move plants, and Hitmonchan gives you the power to punch through bricks like that man from Smash Bros. And once the engine really starts revving, Pokopia consistently dips into the good kind of overwhelming. At any given time, I'm juggling mainline missions, fulfilling bespoke Pokemon requests, gathering resources for a list of build projects, checking in on my pals, and wandering off the beaten path to suddenly find something new and unexpected. Well, I guess wandering is the wrong word. It's more like smashing through the world using that aforementioned punch ability, blurring the lines between destruction and creation. For example, I was laying down minecart tracks to create a kind of fast travel between one of my main hubs and these fiery volcano depths. I saw a glimmer of light in the distance and began cooling lava, punching rocks, and building a path towards it when I suddenly popped out on the surface in the middle of the Pewter City Museum, complete with this weird dude who was obsessed with a ton of the old world relics I'd been gathering for the past 20 hours. This opened up an entirely new avenue of questing and was just something I happened to stumble upon. These micro moments of discovery occur all the time in Pokopia, giving every play session a sense of tangible progress, no matter if it's a quick 5-minute dip or a beefy 5-hour marathon. This game has become the last screen I look at before bed and the first one I check out in the morning, and yes, nothing about that is healthy, but I figure the planet's dying, the internet's become a cesspool, and humanity's Q score is at an all-time low. So fuck it, if paying a visit to my Farfetch brings me a little bit of happiness, then it'd be silly not to indulge. Along with that constant sense of discovery, Pokopia is filled with small moments and flourishes that bring a smile to my face. I adore spotting a source of water, busting through a few blocks, and watching a river flow out. The way it brings life back to the landscape has echoes of using my celestial brush in Okami, which is always a good thing. And speaking of other games that Pokopia reminds me of, yep, time to roll the clip.
Say the line, Bart!
Pokopia reminds me a bit of Kojima games.
Yeah!
But seriously, as I completed the quest that involved bringing power back to the seaside village by laying a series of well-placed pylons, I thought of my time creating a zipline network in Death Stranding. Whenever Tangrowth would ring me up on my Poke Codec, I thought of Otacon giving me some sage wisdom. And spinning around in circles until my little Ditto got dizzy exudes the same sense of play as Snake Eater, though sadly I didn't vomit up all the furniture I had stored in my stomach. I'm also genuinely surprised by how emotional I got throughout this story. There are subtle interactions, like this one between Bulbasaur and Paris talking about their hopes and dreams from their evolutions, which, if you know, you know. And then there's these bigger, lore-centric beats, as you start piecing together what happened to the world and its inhabitants, and you find notes and diaries from your former trainer and other long-gone humans. It becomes clear that the developers wanted to actually tell a story that reflects some of the very real, very pressing matters impacting our planet today. While they could have just easily skirted by without putting in the effort, I'm really glad they did. On that note, I can't give enough praise to said developers. The game is a joint project between Game Freak and Koei Tecmo's Omega Force, the studio behind the similarly themed Dragon Quest Builders, the long-running Dynasty Warriors Musou series, and even the Nintendo 64 hidden gem Winback, which pioneered modern third-person cover mechanics. This feels like a true leveling up for the team. And while Pokopia is an excellent second screen game to play in handheld mode while binging TV, listening to a podcast, or watching a stream, the soundscape of the game has woven into my brain, delivering a Pavlovian response whenever I hear it, which isn't surprising considering how this, and this immediately conjure very specific memories from my childhood. Even before Nintendo released its impressive first weekend sales numbers, I knew that this thing was a hit. From folks in my stream chat sharing stories, to my Nintendo friends list lighting up, to the fact that 2 of my real-life normie pals have pulled the trigger on buying a Switch 2 solely for this game, it's found the kind of reach that we only see in a few titles each year. And honestly, you could have seen that one coming from a mile away as soon as this was revealed. The simple equation of Pokemon plus Minecraft plus Stardew resulted in a solution that most resembled a cartoon bag with a big green $sign on it. Part of its immediate appeal is that it's one of those games that's a blast to talk about with pals. Sharing discoveries, swapping tips, and hyping each other up after a cool creation weirdly reminds me of the communal feeling that followed the launches of stuff like Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. And now, I'm not comparing the feeling Pokopia is giving me to those 2 masterpieces, but also I'm not comparing it to them. And somewhat related, a big debate has bubbled up in the community that involves the ethics behind manipulating the Switch 2's internal clock in order to quote-unquote time travel, making tasks designed to take a full day suddenly complete in an instant. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone for how they find fun in their own video games. To each their own. My personal stance is that that kind of chicanery goes against the chill ethos that I'm so very fond of in the game, so while I'm personally not interested in indulging in these exploits, more power to you. Just don't come crying to me when you die and Arceus turns you away at the Diamond and Pearly gates. When I'm not playing Pokopia or talking about Pokopia, I'm probably scrolling online through Pokopia content. I've seen images and videos of these incredible creations that folks have made in just a few weeks into the game's release. Fully automated farms, landscapes that feel ripped out of a storybook, and home bases that resemble the Library of Alexandria. And when I look at my spots, uneven terrain, patchwork floors, and clusters of habitats and homes with no rhyme or reason, the broken closet door in my office could probably clue you into the fact that I'm not the kind of person who spends a ton of time customizing my in-game houses or play spaces. I don't have the mind of an urban planner, landscape architect, or interior designer. That's why I write book reports about toys. While I've always appreciated the craftsmanship that goes into the perfect Stardew Valley farm and love visiting my friends' islands and Animal Crossing, I never felt compelled or really even capable of putting in that kind of time, effort, and care into the feng shui of my digital play spaces. But for the first time, I'm trying. And I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. These are critters that I've had a relationship with for the better part of 3 decades. As a kid who felt the full brunt of Pokemania back in the late 90s, the original 151 will always be near and dear to my heart.
You guys don't know what Pokemon is. You're in need of some serious remedial toy education.
I've even been rewatching the original Pokemon cartoon on my Friday night anime streams for the past year or so, which certainly has aided in my attachment to this game. And just some really quick side observations about that. Ash is a shockingly dumb child. Team Rocket are absolutely the MVPs. And the episode where Meowth becomes a deity for an Orange Island cargo cult deserved an Emmy over chumps like The West Wing and The Sopranos. All this is to say that 30 years in, Pokemon is still going strong. The brief look at next year's wins and waves has me cautiously optimistic compared to what we saw from the past console generation, and its starter lineup exudes an aura that we have not seen in a very long time. Seriously, in Pumpun we trust. But while we wait for Gen 10, Pokopia is here as more than just a new spin-off. It feels like a strong new branch in this monolithic tree that's been growing for a majority of my life. Even as I finish this script, even after rolling credits, Pokemon Pokopia is still a part of my daily routine. I still have more critters to find, more items to craft, more of the landscape to explore, and more secrets to uncover. Hell, I think I might even try to make this house feel a little bit more like a home. And yeah, this village might be an absolute mess, but it's our absolute mess, and we wouldn't have it any other way.